Talking to some of our correspondents on the ground in different locations where there has been quite some flooding. And of course, when you talk about the rainy season, that's slippery roads, poorly maintained vehicles and impatient drivers, then it's obvious that road accidents are rarely very far off. It was just in December last year when the cruel hand of road accidents claimed the lives of many Kenyans, leaving a good number still writhing in pain and injuries. Well, time now to talk about the situation on our roads right now and what lessons Kenyans have learned from the unusually high statistics of last year, if any. And joining us in studio to talk briefly about this is Nyaga George Kelvin, a founder of the Road Safety Volunteers. Bwana Nyaga, thank you so much for joining us today.
Welcome. Thank you.
Briefly, when we spoke yesterday, you confirmed or you mentioned to me that you are in networks of WhatsApp groups where people inform you about road accidents, and you said that you've received a lot of messages over the last couple of days. Talk to us a bit about that.
This weekend alone, I can confirm that we recorded over 20 accidents.
20 accidents, although in the news we have maybe 4 of, and we'll be running some of those graphics shortly. Okay.
Yeah, so on Saturday during the night and yesterday there were quite a number of accidents, mostly on Nairobi Nakuru highway. Then we had Nairobi Mombasa highway. We had the Eastern Bypass. And the one on the Nairobi, one of the ones on Nairobi Mombasa highway led to a very serious snarl up. Yes, exactly. Yeah. Then we had another on Kangundo Road where somebody lost their life. And then we had another one on Kiambu Road on Saturday night where a vehicle overturned and somebody passed away. So there were quite a number. We had a very busy night on Saturday. And you have not gotten these statistics since December? Yes. So January, February, the numbers were a lot more reduced, but this weekend you say you got more calls than you had gotten in a long time. Yeah, because of the weather conditions. Because of weather conditions. Yes. What unique factors does this wet weather introduce into the system, and what should Kenyans be aware of? One of the things that we've been trying to tell Kenyans, even on social media and on those WhatsApp groups, Facebook, Twitter, is that when it's raining, then they need to know that they have to change their driving behavior. And if it's the issue of the road conditions, roads are very wet, that time you need to keep more distance as compared to when the roads are dry. That is one thing we keep telling people or motorists. Then the other thing they need to know is the visibility is very poor. So again, you have to check on your speed. Around Kinungi yesterday night, there was quite a huge snarl up because the visibility was very poor. And we also had an accident that was reported to us on Saturday night. That is early morning yesterday. And it involved so many cars. So again, when you don't keep distance and one vehicle happens to brake, then there's that connection between keeping distance and slippery roads, and you end up ramming up to even 5-10 vehicles are involved in one accident. Okay. So motorists need to be very, very careful in these conditions. Okay. When it comes to the discussion about road safety, Kenyans are very quick to blame external factors. They talk about the state of the roads. They talk about police not doing their job. I mean, you can blame so many people. But according to findings by the Automobile Association of Kenya, they say 90% of road accidents in Kenya are caused by human error. Not external factors, but human error. What do you think about that particular statistic? I would put that at slightly lower. Lower. Let's talk of 80%. 80%. Because still it's the majority. Still it's a majority percentage. Yes. Yes, and that's true that we keep blaming, or everybody will keep blaming the government, different agencies. But the main problem is us. If you look at the accident that was Nairobi Mombasa highway around Athi River, you realize that people would not have spent more than 10 hours in that traffic if they were disciplined. So there's the problem of overlapping, people overspeeding in the wrong places where there are crowded areas, and this needs to change. Okay. So even before we blame anybody else, then the question is, how do I drive myself? How do you drive on our roads? Okay. But now the 20% I would say is mostly based on our road conditions. Road conditions, okay. And one of the problem I'm finding, because I drive a lot on almost all major roads, is road marking. When it's raining and it's at night, then you are not able to see the road properly, and you are not able to see the lanes. Let's talk of a place like Kinungi. When it's foggy and you are driving at night, the visibility is so poor and you are not able to see where your lane ends. So you follow a vehicle and you realize somebody is driving at the middle of the road, or even somebody veers off the road. So I would say somehow our roads are also not very good. They are poorly marked. Actually, the percentage of the roads that are marked is quite low. Bumps are not marked. Potholes, in a number of places on major highways, which should not be happening. So I would say the 20% falls on the other side of the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of the effects of different orders that were given as a result of the accidents we saw in December. Let's start with NTSA ordered off the roads. Police now in charge. What difference have you seen? What reports are you getting from the different groups that you are in? Has there been a change?
Based on my findings, I would say if you look at the statistics as at 28th February, we had lost, according to NTSA, we had lost around 474 lives on the roads. Last year, the statistics show around 488. So there's a small drop in terms of numbers. But banning the night travel was a bit helpful to me, because at night, again, most of the drivers will misbehave because they know it's also difficult for you to capture the number plates, maybe to take videos of how they are behaving as compared to during the day. But by the end of the day, the motorists also have a responsibility. Let them know that they are also risking their lives as well as lives of other road users.
Okay.
NTSA,
yes.
Leaving the road, to me, I think NTSA was somehow heading in the right direction.
If we had given them time.
And the only problem that may be there, and what maybe most of the people are furious about, is that they dedicated so much energy on speed and alcohol checks. But if you look at coordination, there was a very good coordination in that even if a vehicle does something in Mombasa, in Kisumu, in Meru, you are able to report in one platform, and they are able to act because they have all the database. And that becomes a bit of a challenge when you are dealing with police, because if a vehicle does something maybe in...
If a motorist does something in one...
in one corner, then tracing that motorist following the police channel may be a bit of a challenge. But you see now the systems with the NTSA, with the circles, the companies, they have all the details. It becomes easier to coordinate.
They had a good database. Let me interrupt you at this point, Nyaga, and let's interrupt this interview just to get an update regarding a Kenyan film called Watu Wote that had been nominated for the Oscars that took place last night in America.